So when I watched back my first video of this, I thought I've got to revisit this because I need to explain a bit more. I need to show you a bit more. So this incident last week in Austria, where Lando Norris is challenging Max Verstappen. Lando Norris puts a dirty dive bomb in on Verstappen. Lando Norris brings his car across to this far side of the track, leaving no room for Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen has to leave the track to avoid a collision, but then Max Verstappen retakes the place by repassing Norris off the track. Okay. In many ways, it's very similar to Lap 1 Abu Dhabi 2021. In many ways, it is. Now, those that want to jump up in the comment section and try to say, well, they're different because of... Shut up, okay? All you're doing is your self-serving validation. You cannot admit, because of your desires, that these are comparable and they are spoken about in the opposite manner. You can't bring yourself to admit that. That's your lack of integrity. That's who you are as a desire-driven individual who can't acknowledge truth. Okay, that's your failing. Okay, that makes you who you are. Sadly, the world is populated by people with that level of integrity. Okay, were that not the case, the world would be a much better place. Were people able to acknowledge what is right and what is wrong, and accept that. Okay, distance themselves from their desires. Don't let themselves be ran by their desires, and actually be ran by what is right. But sadly, you don't have that in you. You strap-on fanboys. You know who you... Well, you don't know who you are because you don't have the ability to self-reflect. What I'm going to do, I'm going to play through these incidents again. I'm not going to show you the footage. Watch the first video for the footage. I'll play the audio though. I'll play the audio because that's the key thing that you need to listen to. Okay, the footage, if I play prolonged footage, it will get blocked. But hopefully the audio will pass the YouTube filters. So I've dragged it over to here. And Norris is on the approach. What I'm going to have to do is click play and then switch off over to a different screen. So this is not showing. But let's have a listen. Let's have a listen, because actually in the first video I said it was silent. Nobody was saying he went off the track. He went off the track. You have to give that place back. What I was talking about was the Sky Sports commentary of Brundle and Crofty. Okay, you didn't hear it from them. Let's have a listen anyway. Here we go.
That's a gap, 0.6.
We have seen battles for the lead decided late on here between Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. They did so in spectacular fashion in 2019. It went to the last lap in 2016 between the Mercedes pair. And now on lap 63, Lando Norris slows it down. Max Verstappen was off the road to maintain the place. There'll be all sorts of investigations there.
Unfortunately, I'll forget.
It's not clever, is it?
Yeah, he has to give the position back. I was ahead at the apex.
Yeah, and he went off track.
He's just dive bombing, like, it's not how you overtake.
What a bat!
Max Verstappen, he just dive bombed me. It's not how you overtake. Really, Max? When did you learn that, Max? Because that's what you've done all your career. He's just dive bombed me. That's not the way you overtake. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And the toxic Red Bull race engineer, he's just forced me off the track. Yeah, it's not clever, is it? It's not clever, is it? No, it's not clever. And it wasn't clever on lap 1 of Abu Dhabi 2021, where he just dive bombed me. He just forced me off the track. That's not how you overtake. It's not clever, is it? Oh, he has to give that place back. He has to give that place back. He has to give that place back. Let's have a listen to the comparable audio of Abu Dhabi 2021. So on this, I'm going to actually play it on Tracker View. I should get the audio there. We can see where the cars are going around the track, and it shouldn't get blocked by doing it this way. So let's have a listen. to Abu Dhabi 2021, a comparable incident.
Yes, the only good news there for Red Bull is at least Perez is up there, but for the second consecutive weekend, the Red Bull did not get off the line very well.
There's 3 abreast going into the turn 9 hairpin. Oh, and there, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton almost coming together. Hamilton has to go off the track. The Dutch fans roaring in the background. Lewis Hamilton in the lead, but will he have to give out the place?
Yes, of course he will, but
Of course he will, Martin. Of course he will. Crofty, will he have to give that place back? Will he have to give that place back? Did you say that about Verstappen? When he did that against Norris at Austria? Oh, it wasn't you, Crofty. It was the new fluff boy.
the problem he's got is Perez is right on Verstappen's tail.
He has to give that back.
Verstappen wants that.
He has to give that back. Max, surely you were the one that was just saying, he just dive-bombed me. That's not the way you overtake. He forced me off the track. You just admitted yourself that's not how you overtake, Max. Right? Something is not congruent. When something doesn't match, okay, there is a problem. Nothing matches in Formula One. Why is that? Because with the truth, there's always a consistency there. There's always a consistency. When you lie, okay, you're always going to get caught out. Why? Because you forget what you've said, and when you then have to repeat it, you're coming out with stuff that just doesn't match. This doesn't match. This doesn't match, does it? Similar situation, the information doesn't match. Something is amiss. Something's wrong. What about your race engineer, Max? Yeah, that's not clever. That's not a clever move.
That place back, and he wants that place back right now.
What Max should do is back up a little bit and make sure Perez is right on his gearbox for when Lewis inevitably has to give that place back.
Oh, that's right, Martin. Right, that's right. You call the strategy for Red Bull so that Hamilton not only loses the place to Verstappen, he also loses it to Perez as well. That'd be incredible, wouldn't it, Martin? Who do you support?
Verstappen had to do that lunge.
Verstappen had to do that lunge? A dive bomb? Where he forced somebody off the track? Verstappen had to do that, did he?
So behind them, the lunge was on with Norris and Sainz.
The lunge was on. You forced somebody off the track.
And Leclerc, Sainz in 4th, Norris 5th, Leclerc in 6th, out in front. Hamilton still has the lead from Max Verstappen, from Sergio Perez, and at the end of lap 1, Hamilton's advantage over Verstappen is 1.1 seconds.
Push me off track. Yeah, copy. We're happy with the gap that you've reinstated.
Oh, well, so Mercedes then tactic here is, okay, you haven't gained a lasting advantage. So the stewards will be looking at that. You've re-established the gap. Not quite sure I can see that. You've re-established the gap that you had before you went off. Well, they were side by side when they went off.
Yeah. When Norris was on the inside of Verstappen at Austria and they were side by side, did you use this validation for Norris keeping the lead in that situation, Martin? No, you didn't. Again, lack of congruency. Something strange about this. Each time, in one situation, Verstappen is the person that's done the dive bomb, and he's the one that we should benefit. In the other situation, Verstappen is the one who is the victim of the dive bomb, and he's the one that should benefit. Each and every time, it's Maxwell Verstappen that needs to benefit. It's Maxwell Verstappen that's done nothing wrong. Each time. And yet they're different situations. They're the opposite situation. Yet in one situation, Max is right. And in the other situation, Max is also right. Oh, Max is always right. That's right. That's right. Is that the rules of Formula One? The rules are Verstappen rules. Yeah, that's what it is, isn't it? The Max Verstappen fluff show.
I did wonder whether the stewards would need to get involved this weekend. by courtesy of that moment down at turn 7. Surely they need to get involved to make a decision one way or another, but it's Hamilton out in front. Will he have to give the place back, or will he keep the lead?
I think that's clear cut for me anyway, but we're talking team play here with
Clear cut. Okay, so we're over a lap on now. Okay.
Red Bull second and third. Valtteri Bottas has now dropped down to 8th place.
He was having an early battle, wasn't he, with Yuki Tsunoda. Tsunoda's got ahead of him. Bottas not in play to help his teammate, who's going to have to try and win this the hard way. Now, this the run down. Verstappen a long way back, lunges into the apex. They do touch, and Hamilton has to take to the escape road. Did Verstappen lunge correctly and fairly? Well, the stewards...
Did he lunge correctly and fairly? Max has just informed us that that's not the way to overtake. Max tells us in Austria 2024 that's not an acceptable way of overtaking. Lack of congruency.
A rule in Verstappen's favour there, or was that an opportunist move that was never, ever going to be on? Will they decide that way?
It was late, but the door was open and Max stayed on the racetrack.
Oh, it was late, but the door was open and Max stayed on the racetrack. Did you say that about Lando Norris? No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Oh, and is this notion of staying on the racetrack the criteria as to what makes an overtake legal or not? No, it isn't. There is an offence called crowding your other car off track. We saw Nico Hülkenberg get punished from that from the sprint race in Austria last week. Oh, but Nico Hülkenberg, he stayed on the track. It's irrelevant. If you forced another car off the track, you have committed a crime in Formula One. You have committed an infringement. You get penalised for doing so. You get a penalty for doing so. You get at least a 5-second penalty and 2 penalty points on your licence. Oh, but Max stayed on the track there. Let's have a look. Nico Hülkenberg stayed on the track in Austria. Let's have a look. Here it is, look. You see, I can bring out the evidence every single time. Okay? This strap-on fanboys that like to jump up in the comment section to tell me what you think. Okay? What you think is irrelevant. What matters is what the facts are. This is called a fact. This is a document explaining a decision. This is actual real, not what you think. So, the stewards, having received a report from the race director, have considered the following matter and determined the following. Driver number 27, Nico Hülkenberg, from the Haas team. The fact, car 27 forced car 14 off the track at turn 3. Okay, gets a 10-second penalty. If you applied a 10-second penalty to young Maxwell Verstappen in Abu Dhabi 2021, what would happen then? Oh, he wouldn't have won that illegally manufactured lap 58, would he? No, he wouldn't have. What would have happened is he'd have still finished the same distance behind Lewis Hamilton in that safety car finish. That's what would have happened. Although, actually, he'd have actually been made to stop for 10 seconds when he pitted. So the gap between Hamilton and Verstappen would have been greater, enabling Hamilton to also have an additional pit stop and still regain the lead after pitting. Didn't happen. All hypothetical. Just another example of the fact that they never punished Max Verstappen. Strange that. The stewards reviewed video and in-car video evidence. The driver of car 27 attempted to overtake on car 14 into turn 3, but locked up and missed the apex. The car understeered to the very edge of the track, thereby preventing car 14 from turning in and forcing the other driver off the track. See, Karun Chandok gave us 5 examples of, and Max carried so much extra speed into the corner, and it's understeer, as Max goes all the way across the track to the opposite side of the track, leaving no room whatsoever for his opposing car. Oh, Max carries so much extra speed. Oh, Max is so good, isn't he? Because he carries so much extra speed into the car. Oh, because he doesn't slow the car down enough to make it around the corner. Oh, he carries so much extra speed, and it's understeer, 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 and he goes all the way across to the other edge of the track, and there's no room left for the other car. The other car is forced off the track. The FIA say, when it involves Max Verstappen, no further action required. Nothing to see here. Anybody else, you get a 10-second penalty and 2 penalty points on your licence. See, you know, they do know Felix Holter. It wasn't he one of our Abu Dhabi boys? Felix, yeah, I think I remember the name. Felix Holter. Felix Holter from Abu Dhabi. He didn't know the rules in Abu Dhabi. Felt that Red Bull rules were the ones to follow, even though them rules have been followed by all teams for 198 races. On the 199th occasion, the Red Bull's version of the rules is now the correct version. Thanks for that, Felix. Anyway, Sky Sports have still got more to say. Martin and Crofty have still got more to say. We're now on lap 3, I think. Let's have a look.
No investigation necessary.
Yep, well, there you go. End of story, isn't it? FIA have decided, yeah, actually, it's a late lunge. It's a dive bomb by Verstappen, okay? Hamilton had nowhere to go. He avoided a collision. No investigation necessary, the FIA. Why not? Why are you not penalising a car for forcing another one off the track? Because the narrative so far in Abu Dhabi is Hamilton has done something wrong here. Hamilton needs to give that place back. He's given that place back. And the reality is, a car has forced him off the track. Why aren't you saying, he's crowded him off the track. That's a 10-second penalty. That's 2 penalty points on your licence. Oh, no, nobody's saying that, are they? Why is that? Sky Sports?
The steward.
And then the FIA go, oh, yeah, nothing to see here. Oh, the FIA are letting Hamilton off. Are they letting Hamilton off or are they letting Verstappen off? Are they letting Hamilton off or are they letting Verstappen off? Well, the guy that was the one that was guilty of forcing the other car off the track, well, he didn't get let off in Austria. But the guy that was guilty of forcing the guy off in Abu Dhabi 2021, he's the one that got let off. But Verstappen was the one that was hard done by, apparently. He was the one that was hard done by in Abu Dhabi. It was Hamilton who the FIA were favouring. That was the narrative. Every single part of this corruption can be unpicked. Every single part of these lies. Liars.
Derek Warwick, former Grand Prix racer Gary Connolly.
Derek Warwick, the great white hope himself. Gary Connolly. Okay, Gary Connolly is another fraudster. I can pick out the number of times where he is fraudulent. I'm trying not to swear in this one.
Very experienced steward Felix Holter.
Felix Holter! There he is, look. I thought I remembered the name.
Completing that particular trio, they've got bags of experience in the steward's room and they've decided no investigation necessary.
No investigation necessary. So Felix, back in Abu Dhabi 2021, no investigation necessary when Max is guilty of crowding Lewis off the track there. But you penalised Nico Hülkenberg, gave Nico Hülkenberg a 10-second penalty and 2 penalty points on his licence in Austria 2024 sprint race. Lack of consistency there, isn't there? When it involves Max Verstappen, no penalty. No penalty for Max.
Well, it's like Brazil. Turn 4, there was no investigation necessary that day either.
Absolutely right, Crofty. Yep, absolutely right. I'll validate you there. There was nothing done there either, Crofty. Why is that? Verstappen has driven all the way off the track, forcing Hamilton off the track, crowded him off the track. No further action required, no investigation necessary. Saudi, turn 1. Verstappen crowd Hamilton off the track. He had to give that place back. He brake tested Hamilton. Oh, see what we're doing here? So we can go back through the season. We've got a dive bomb at Spain 2021. We've got him crowding him off the track at the chicane at Imola. Before he ended up on Hamilton's head at Monza, earlier in the race, he crowded him off. Verstappen crowded Hamilton off the track at the chicane there too. Do you want to go back and see whether Verstappen got penalties? You know the answer to that one.
That's the card they played, and so...
Oh, it's the card they played. Martin and his clever cards. I thought it was only Red Bull that could play the clever cards, Martin.
We're back as we were then, 1.4 seconds behind Max Verstappen. Red Bull, I think, will be on the blower to race control to question that one. But that's, with all of the information they've got available to them, what they see, the different camera angles, there we go.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
So, I've just seen it again. Max is ahead at the apex.
Jonathan.
Stays on the track.
Jonathan, he's forced him out there. That's why we asked him to give back
Lewis
all of the advantage.
Lewis has left the track, and you told him to give back all the advantage.
All the advantage was already given back prior to the first lap ending.
So, what you need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is that what you hear is chosen for you to hear by the media matrix, okay? By this organisation that wants to feed into your head information that it wants you to have to process. You didn't have to hear this message. This is a message that's going on between Jonathan Wheatley from Red Bull and Race Control. F1 TV have listened to that, chosen it, and chosen to play it to you as part of constructing the narrative. That's what it is. The stewards have already determined no further action required. Okay, we're not penalising Lewis Hamilton. We should be penalising Verstappen for crowding Hamilton off the track, but we're not going to take any action. Job done. End of story. Rather than leave it there, Sky Sports continue talking about it. F1 TV interject with what Red Bull have to say about it, inciting the crazies, inciting the fans, with the complete opposite of what is actually true. What should have happened is Verstappen should have got a penalty for crowding another driver off the track. The same as Hulkenberg was done in the sprint race at Austria 2024. And countless other times, I can give countless examples of drivers receiving penalties for crowding other cars off the track.
I'm not sure we agree, but understood.
No problems.
So in the eyes of the stewards then, Lewis Hamilton slowed down enough to give back some of the extra meters that he gained when he went off the track.
But these lads are just about to say, but did Max crowd Lewis off the track there? Should Max be getting a penalty? We're about to hear that.
And that was fair. There's race director Michael Massey. That was fair in their opinion. 1.5 seconds now, the gap.
Well, I call these things as I see them. Doesn't seem to matter whatever you say. One of the teams is unhappy with you.
Call them as you see them, Martin, through your Red Bull sponsored spectacles. That's right.
But I don't see that the gap was the same.
Okay, mate, so just get your head down. No investigation on the shortcuts or the advantage that he's gained in terms of gaps, so let's just get on with this.
Again, F1 TV choosing to interject and play the world the Red Bull message to Max. So it's this Giampiero Lambesi or whatever his name is, right? With the same toxic message, inciting the strap-on fanboy. Oh, the injustice against Max! The injustice against Max! The injustice against Max! Oh, your boy just got let off with crowding another driver off the track. Oh, the injustice against Max! So F1 TV are playing that to you to make you think that Max is the one on the wrong end of an injustice. Damaging? Damaging.
and win it on track, mate.
That is incredible. What are they doing here?
That's incredible, isn't it, Max? Max in Austria, you told us that's not the way you overtake. But this now you're the victim, right? You're the victim now, but you're also the victim when you're the one on the receiving end of a dive bomb. So you do the dive bomb, you're the victim. You're on the receiving end of a dive bomb, you're the victim. Right. Do you get that strap on, fanboys? You're always the victims, aren't you? Always the victims. You never do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. Right, okay. We must apologise on every single occasion. I'm sorry, we're always in the wrong. Yeah? You're always in the right. Regardless whether the situation's reversed, you're always in the right, we're always in the wrong. See the damage it does? Entitlement. Entitlement.
Because they were side by side when the incident happened, and even into the braking zone. So I don't think the gap was ever given back, but that's what the stewards have decided. They're the referees, and I think that's wise advice there to young Max Verstappen.
That's what the referees have decided. The referees have decided, because you're talking about it from the perspective of Hamilton having to give this time advantage back. We're not talking about it from the perspective of one car crowding another car off the track. Not at any stage. Why not? Why not?
In terms of, right, don't get angry, get even, get on, you know, just focus on the race ahead now.
Well, we wondered, didn't we? Was it going to be turn one where Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton potentially came together? We lasted 6.
Why did you think that? Why did you think that? I'll tell you why you think that. Is because you knew that Verstappen could crash Hamilton out of that race and become world champion. You knew that. You knew that he'd already tried to crash Hamilton out of the race in Brazil. No penalty. You knew that he'd tried to crash Hamilton out of the race at least twice in Saudi. No meaningful penalty. And you thought, oh, well, he'll do it again. You validate that, don't you? But you're not saying this is disgusting. This driver is quite happy to crash into somebody. Hamilton's been avoiding crashes all season. Hamilton avoided crashes all season.
Corners until they came together. Our first controversial moment of this race, and possibly not the last either, as Hamilton takes to the runoff area, stays ahead of Verstappen. The stewards say no investigation, no penalty to be applied. Now we can get back on with the racing.
Yeah, cricket.
Thank God for that. You know, I'm glad that we can finally put that to bed and get on with the racing.
Because Max.
I mean, what are we on now? I mean, considering it happened on lap 1, we're still talking about it on lap 4, and that's after it had all kind of, you know, the stewards had decided
That because
there's nothing to see here. We're not going to penalise Max for crowding Lewis. No, they didn't approach it from that direction. Nothing to do with Max crowding Lewis. We're not going to penalise Lewis there. Okay, thanks for that. Thanks for not penalising the guy that was forced off track. Thanks.
Max slid sideways. He pushed Lewis out of play, but look at that, the Red Bull of
Absolutely right, Martin. He pushed Lewis. Let's just go through that again, Martin.
Applied. Now we can get back on with the racing.
Yeah, critically, the stewards feel that because Max slid sideways, he pushed Lewis out of play. But look at that, the Red Bull of Verstappen just barely moved initially, did it? It bogged down on him. And there is...
Crucially, the stewards thought that Max pushed Lewis out of play. So the stewards think that Max forced him off the track. Where's the penalty then? Oh, but now... Oh, let's not expand upon that. Look at this. Max has bogged down on the start line. So they're now doing a replay of the start with diverted. Look at over here, boys and girls. Look over there. Oh, look over there. Oh, diverting your attention to something else now.
Then Perez taking third place as Lando Norris goes wide, comes back in, doesn't gain any advantage. And you can see Bottas falling behind the Ferrari as well.
Got squeezed a bit, didn't he?
Really, really low revs there for Lewis in the Mercedes, and just took off 1/10 of a second better on the reaction time. Just about finds enough grip And look at that lovely space in front of him. So, yeah, I'm going to call it the same way. I think Max has got in there. He's got into the apex. He stayed within the white lines of the racetrack. And look at the gap Lewis has pulled out.
Once again, he stayed within the white lines of the racetrack. Did Nico Hulkenberg stay within the white lines of the racetrack? On every other of these incidents where the driver that's forced the other car off track, did they stay within the white lines of the racetrack? Is that how it's determined? No. Did they leave track room for the car that they forced off the racetrack? That's what matters, not whether or not the car itself that did the forcing stayed on the track. Oh, the car that forced him off stayed on the track, so it's all okay. No, Martin, that's not how it works. You, the sports expert that's supposed to explain this to the world, what are you saying to them? Oh, well, Max stayed within the white line, so it's all okay. No, that's not the rules, is it? Lack of congruency once again. Lack of congruency. This is from the expert of the sport. This is to the new fans of the sport that have been attracted to this season finale where the World Championship is taking place. Right, it's gone down to the last race of the season. Look, everybody that's new to the sport, just to tune in to watch this, the most exciting thing ever. You could be watching history. You could see a man break the all-time record for most championships, or you could be seeing somebody get there first. And Martin, the expert, the presented expert, he's educating the fans with this, isn't he? He's educating you with this information. Oh, Max stayed within the white lines. Well, that's not parameters for being penalised for the offence of crowding another car off the track, is it, Martin? Who pays your wages, Martin? What conditioning are you paid to give? Why are you falling down on the side of a pretender rather than the guy who would break the historic record of the sport? Why would you fall down on the side of the guy that was enabled to get away with doing that sort of driving all season, as opposed to the guy that had to deal with that all season and still overcame it? Why would you go on the side of somebody that's not even your countryman, Martin? All of these questions, rather strange, isn't it?
From there, so I'll stand by that, but that's not what the stewards think.
This is the view from Lewis Hamilton's cockpit as he sees Max Verstappen coming at him at a rate of knots. But it is very much like Brazil. There was no penalty given in Brazil for that turn 4 incident. Max Verstappen lunged late on that day, and the stewards on that day decided that it was a fair move.
Brazil was a fair move. Look at the way Crofty has spoken about Brazil, saying the stewards decided it was a fair move. Mind conditioning. That was one of the most filthy things you'll ever see in Grand Prix racing. Why are you not calling out that the fact that the stewards refer to that as a fair move is a clear demonstration of corruption by the FIA? Clear corruption by not penalising such a move. It's one of the most disgusting moves you'll ever see.
What they've decided here, once again, it was a fair move from Verstappen. Hamilton...
Once again, it was a fair move from Verstappen. Once again, it was a fair move. Driving him off the track in Brazil was a fair move. And once again, that was a fair move. Thanks for that, Crofty. We're still going about it, aren't we? I thought this had been put to bed by the FIA on lap 2.
And gave enough time back, so it was honours even at the end of the skirmish.
But the door was open and he drove through it. And he stayed on the racetrack. It wasn't...
But the door was open. No, the door wasn't open. That's called a late lunge. That's called a dive bomb. Max has just told you in Austria, that's not the way to overtake. He just dive bombed me. That's not the way to overtake. Right? And Martin describes it as, but the door was open and he went through it and he stayed on the track. Mind conditioning. Look at what you're validating. Look at who you are convincing that that is acceptable. Disgusting.
He was leery in Saudi Arabia last weekend when he arrived.
Yes, he was leery in Saudi Arabia. That was disgusting too. That should have been banned. Okay, he should have been disqualified from the entire season for what he did in Saudi Arabia. That was filthy. Even worse than Brazil. That was reckless what he did going into turn 1, let alone the brake test.
Sideways and out of control, and Lewis made an attempt, and that's why Max had to give the place back. And
Lewis made an attempt, and that's why. No. Lewis was incredible again, avoiding getting taken out again. So, with 4 races of the season to go, Lewis had to be perfect, which he was. Lewis had to win all 4 races. If he didn't finish one of them races, Max Verstappen would be world champion. Max Verstappen tried to take Lewis Hamilton out of Brazil. The stewards say, oh, nothing to see here. Max Verstappen tried to take Lewis Hamilton out at Saudi. He got ultimately told to give the place back. All right? No 10-second penalty there. No 10-second penalty and 2 penalty points on the licence. Disgusting. Abu Dhabi, he was happy to cause what would have been a collision had Lewis Hamilton attempted to stay on the racetrack. He crowded him off the track. Oh, we've let Lewis off here. We've let Lewis off. Oh, Lewis is the beneficiary of this. Yeah. Unbelievable.
came back on the track within the corner and made a reasonable effort, having been pushed out of the way, to get on the track.
Ted Kravitz, very good evening to you.
Hello, Crofty. I didn't think it was going to get this controversial this early. Hello, Martin. Hello, everyone. I didn't know, but looking down from where I am in the pit lane across to the Red Bull pit wall, Christian Horner might as well have steam coming out of his ears. I understand he's been on the radio speaking directly to the race director, Michael Massey, to put his point of view. Maybe we'll hear from him in a second of what he had to say, but this is a result of Brazil with the FIA not clamping down on these things. When you start to leave interpretation into it rather than a hard and fast rule, you get situations, confusing situations that would have been clear-cut in the past decision.
Indeed, it is clear-cut, unless you're trying to break the rules to validate somebody. These things are clear-cut, they're easy decisions to make, clear parameters. But then when you get liars lying about the situation, when you've got desire-driven agendas, then things get a bit cloudy, don't they? But then we don't see congruency with that, do we? We don't see congruency.
On board with Charles Leclerc, who's currently running 6th, but while we watch from the cockpit of the Ferrari, let's head down to the Red Bull pit wall. Christian Horner is with us. Christian, please, your reaction to the no action by the stewards.
We're a little bit shocked at that because apparently Lewis gave his advantage back, which we failed to see yet. So, you know, as you can imagine, we're not best pleased.
Is this?
Lewis gave his advantage. So, let's just recap. Okay. Max crowded Lewis off the track. Max is guilty of an offence. Max should be given a 10-second penalty. They're interviewing Christian Horner, and Christian Horner is telling the world that, oh, they claim that Lewis gave the advantage that he gained back, but we haven't seen that. So we are still disadvantaged by this. You're the one that's been given the advantage by Max not being given a 10-second penalty. The opposite of what's true, isn't it? The opposite of what's true. And this is what is chosen to be broadcast to the world. Nobody is telling the truth.
What goes around comes around, Christian, with turn 4 Brazil and into some first corners in earlier races.
No, it's a total lack of consistency. So
absolutely right, Christian. It is a total lack of consistency. You know, it's a lack of consistency that you didn't penalise Max Verstappen for crowding Lewis Hamilton off the track, attempting to crash into him at Brazil. Yeah, total lack of consistency there. No penalty applied. Total lack of consistency that no proper penalty was given to Max Verstappen for what he did at Saudi Arabia. Total lack of consistency that now you're trying to claim that Lewis Hamilton is a beneficiary of being crowded off the track. And it's actually a lack of consistency, the fact that your driver is not given a 10-second penalty. And you're claiming, oh yeah, there's a problem here because it's a lack of consistency.
You know, we're disappointed with it, but focus on the race now, and yeah, we've got to do it the hard way.
Christian, there will be a lot of people watching Formula One for the first time ever.
Absolutely right, Crofty. And you're educating them, aren't you? You're educating them. You're introducing these new viewers to the sport. 108.7 million viewers. Many of them new viewers to the sport, tuning in to see if they're going to watch history. And you're telling them about the sport and how the sport works, aren't you? Or are you just lying to them? Are you just lying to them? Damaging. What happens when the media lies to people? What happens? That's for a future video.
When they're presented with a no action for one incident, no action for another, they'll find it hard to believe that's a total lack of consistency.
Well, you know, the race director made it very clear before the race.
No action for one incident and no action for another. That's a total lack of consistency. What are you talking about there, mate? Well, no action for when Verstappen forced him off the track, and no action again for when Verstappen forced him off the track. Well, that's consistent. That's consistently benefiting Red Bull. Unbelievable. Let's just rewind that. You couldn't make this shit up. Oh, you couldn't make it up, could you? Yeah. No.
With a no action for one incident.
Yeah.
Do it the hard way.
Christian, there will be a lot of people watching Formula One for the first time ever. When they're presented with a no action for one incident, no action for another, they'll find it hard to believe that's a total lack of consistency.
Well, you know, the race director made it very clear before the race that you had to stay within the white lines. Max did that. You know, Lewis gained.
Oh, I probably got the interpretation wrong. Maybe Crofty was calling Christian out on this lack of, you know, when it's no action on one and no action on the other, you can't really say that's a total lack of consistency. Okay, so I probably got the interpretation of that wrong. But Christian's still allowed to say what he thinks in the comment section to incite his fanboys. Okay, tell us, Christian.
An advantage by going off track. He didn't concede it. He didn't give anything back, so that was our position. But anyway.
So we're saying he gained an advantage by going off track. He was forced off the track. Okay, the offence is crowding another driver off the track. Had they not have gone off the track, your driver would have driven his car into them. That is the offence. But Christian is allowed to gaslight people. Christian is given the platform to broadcast his toxic message to the world.
We're focused on the race and still a long way to go.
Christian, thanks ever so much for joining us. We appreciate your instant reaction there. That's what we were talking.
How's about you call him a liar? No, we don't do that.
To Christian, we saw Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll running a race all by themselves. 14th for Vettel, 15th for Stroll.
Go ahead.
Michael, we still don't understand it.
F1 TV still want to talk about this. Right, so the creators of the show, the creators of the narrative, the creators of the footage, deciding what they show you and what they don't, they've picked this one out to show to the world. What lap are we on now? Still going on about it. Let's have a look.
Aggressive pass by Max, but Max stayed fully on the track and he was ahead at the apex. He did everything right, he stayed on the track. At some point, the second car has to back out.
Jonathan, the stewards have reviewed it and determined...
He did everything right. Michael, this is Jonathan here. I need to let them go all the way around the track and then we have a motor race on our hands. That Jonathan, yeah, that. I'm not going to swear on this video. We're on lap 7. We're still talking about this. Tell us about your lies, Jonathan.
Themselves, 14th for Vettel, 15th for Stroll.
Go ahead.
Michael, we still don't understand it. That was a hard, aggressive pass by Max.
We don't understand it. We also don't understand the rules of the safety car. Because after 198 races of competing under them, we've decided a new version of them for the 199th race. So when it comes to the appeal at the end, let us in and we'll tell you what the new version is. Okay, thank you for that, Jonathan. We don't understand. Okay.
But Max stayed fully on the track and he was ahead at the apex. He did everything
for Stroll.
Go ahead.
Michael, we still don't understand it. That was a hard, aggressive pass by Max, but Max stayed fully on the track and he was ahead at the apex. He did everything right. He stayed on the track.
Max did everything right. Right, so what you're doing, you are misinforming the world. You are miseducating the new viewers to the sport. The offence is crowding somebody else off the track.
At some point, the second car has to back out.
Jonathan,
No, the second car doesn't have to back out. Okay, he is forced off the track because your driver did not leave him room on the track. It is quite simple. But we don't understand this. We don't understand. Really? How long have you been in the sport? And you don't understand the rules of engagement of the sport? Oh, when you're the victims. Oh, we're always the victims. Oh, we're the victims, Red Bull. Oh, we didn't do anything wrong. We're the victims again. We don't understand this. Toxic, toxic, toxic.
stewards have reviewed it and determined that all of the lasting advantage was gained, and that Max forced that position there. So they've said that
Max forced the position. So what does that result in, Michael? If Max forced that position, what does that result in? If he has forced another driver off the track, what is the offence? The offence is crowding another driver off the track. Let's have a look what crowding another driver off the track. Okay, Nico Hülkenberg has forced a car off the track and he got a 10-second time penalty and 2 penalty points on his licence. Yeah.
that they have reviewed it but are not investigating it.
But they're not investigating this one. They're not investigating this one, just like they didn't want to investigate Brazil when Max Verstappen forced him off the track. Just like they didn't want to investigate Imola, where Max Verstappen forced him off the track. Just like they didn't want to investigate Monza, where Max Verstappen forced him off the track. And in Saudi, they just went, oh yeah, just give the place back, rather than the 10-second penalty. Just give the place back. It'll be all right. It'll be all right.
Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton now 2 seconds out in front from Verstappen, Perez, Sainz, Norris, Leclerc, Tsunoda.
At least that's the end of it. At least they've stopped talking about it now.
Bottas, Ocon and Ricciardo. We've got 3 world champions with us on Sky Sports F1 this weekend. Damon Hill, Jenson Button and Nico Rosberg. Nico, what's the champions' view?
Oh my goodness, so difficult. I think it's okay what they've done. Max was a little bit too lungy and too aggressive, forcing Lewis out too strongly. Even though he had the right to the corner there because he was massively ahead, you know, but still. And then I would also say, though, that Lewis didn't give back everything that he gained. So there's like, oh, it's tough, but I think it's okay like this.
Yeah, I tend to agree with what Nico said.
Lewis didn't give back everything he gained. He was the victim of being crowded off the track, okay? If you're crowded off the track, what do you want him to do? Disadvantage himself? No, the other guy was guilty of an offence. The other guy needs to feel the consequence of that. He's not been given a 10-second penalty, but you're saying, oh, well, Lewis Hamilton didn't give an advantage back. Red Bull, you've had the advantage of not being penalised 10 seconds, and you're moaning, oh, Red Bull are the victims again. The victims.
I think when you look at it back, you know, you have to say that Lewis had to basically move out of the way because otherwise he's going to collide with...
Absolutely right, Damon. Absolutely right. Calls it right for a change.
With Max, who made a very uncompromising, very late lunge, which left...
Oh, it's uncompromising, because that's what we expect from Max. Oh, it's elbows out, it's argy-bargy, it's aggressive. Oh, the kids love all of that. Stop short of saying it's illegal, though, don't you? Stop short of saying that it's illegal. You know, Nico Hülkenberg's move was illegal. That's why you got a penalty. But you stop short of saying that when it comes to Max Verstappen.
No room for Lewis to make any accommodation. He had to leave the track. But I have to say, I am surprised they didn't say, give the place back. Because...
I'm surprised. Right, so, once again, Max has done the crowding, should get a 10-second penalty, but you're surprised that Lewis hasn't been made to give the place back. He never lost that place because it wasn't a legal overtake. It was not a legal overtake. Okay, you can't just go, oh, I got to the apex first, because you can drive down a 200-mile-an-hour straight, and when you need to brake to make it around that corner, if one car brakes to make it around that corner and the other car doesn't brake, well, the car that's slowed down, the car that's not braking, is going to carry on at 200 miles an hour and it will get to that apex first. But if it doesn't make it around that corner, leaving racing room for the other car, because when they're in that braking zone, if they're side by side, you have to leave them racing room on the track. If you don't leave them racing room, you've crowded them off the track. You've committed an offence. Not a legal overtake. It's not a valid overtake. Don't try and say, oh, but Max was ahead there, so therefore he had the right to retain that place. No, that's not how it works. Don't condition people with the wrong information.
Yeah, totally. I actually agree with you, Damon. It was a very late lunge, but it was always going to happen. Lewis knew he was coming, and he pushed.
It was always going to happen. Why was it always going to happen? Because that's the dirty driving that we've seen from Max Verstappen all season. And you validate it. Yeah, that's fine. We know that Max does that. Everybody has had to learn how to contend with this from Max, because the FIA don't punish it, so they've all had to learn that, oh, Max is not our race. Don't get yourself involved with Max. Get out of the way with him. Otherwise, he'll just crash into you, because that's what Max does. Oh, he just dive bombed me. That's not okay for him to do that to me. That's not a way of overtaking. Oh, that's right. You're allowed to do it to everybody else, Max, but they're not allowed to do it to you. See how this works? The victims. Red Bull, the victims.
Pushed Lewis off the track, I guess, but he stayed on the track. And
Jensen Button. Yes, Max Verstappen pushed Lewis off the track, I guess, but he stayed on the track. Validation. Who's talking about the 10-second penalty for crowding a driver off the track?
I'm struggling to understand the regulations right now, because obviously in Brazil there was.
See, nobody in the sport knows the rules. Crazy. They presented experts. I don't know the rules of the sport. It's funny that, isn't it? It's funny that later on in the race you didn't know the rules of the sport either. When it came to the safety car, you didn't know the rules. The experts don't know the rules of the sport. Oh, there's bound to be a couple of racing laps left in this race. Martin, how many races have you commentated on? Every time there's a safety car situation and there's cars that have been lapped, it takes about 5.5 laps before they go racing. There ain't 5.5 laps left in the race. How are you presenting that there's bound to be a couple, Martin? How does that work, Martin? Oh, there's bound to be a couple, and that's when Verstappen's fresher tyres will... Well, he's still on the hard compound tyres when you're saying this, Martin. Oh, but are they going to release the lapped cars? Yes, Martin, they have to. That's one of the regulations. I don't think it's mandatory, but that's usually on a wet day. No, that's not at all true, Martin. Why are you saying that? Oh, we don't know the rules. Why not? You're the experts. You're the people that are educating this 108.7 million viewers that have tuned in to see the championship decider. Oh, but we don't know the rules. And if they do let them through, how long will they wait? Well, from the point in time that the lapped cars are released, the safety car remains on track for at least another lap of the track to enable those released cars the opportunity to make it around and catch the back of the pack, to make sure that the field is fully bunched. So that, second place, who was 12 seconds behind first, he'll be like half a second behind first when he's fully bunched. So 7th place, he should be fully bunched to be half a second behind 6th, shouldn't he? Because that reinstates these same criteria, these same positions to each of those competitors. Doesn't leave some stranded half a lap behind. Okay, it's to restore sporting fairness to them all. Because, you know, Lando Norris was only 12 seconds behind Pierre Gasly at the time that Latifi crashed, so you can't now leave him a lap behind Gasly, can you? You've got to make sure that if Verstappen's allowed to close up to half a second behind Hamilton, well, Norris is allowed to close up to half a second behind Gasly, and you can't let a safety concern affect that. It's nice of you to inform all of these new fans of how this sport works, Martin and David, the experts of the sport, commentating on it for years. But in Abu Dhabi 2021, we don't know the rules. And they're only letting 5 cars through, and it's ending. Wow. We can't call out that anything's going wrong here, can we? We can't call out that anything's going wrong. A former world champion, he doesn't know the rules of the sport either. He doesn't know the crowding another car off the track rule and getting a 10-second penalty and 2 penalty points on your licence for it. Doesn't know that rule.
There's no penalty, but they both drove off the circuit, whereas Max stayed on the track this time.
Oh, there was no penalty for the disgusting acts of Brazil, but they both went off the circuit. Oh, it's okay that Max went off the circuit in Brazil because Lewis also went off the circuit. Or Lewis, had he tried to stay on the circuit, would have been crushed out of that race. Oh, but they both went off the track, so we don't penalise either one of them. Madness. But in Brazil, because they both went off the track, then we don't penalise either one of them. This time, though, it was Lewis that went off the track and Max stayed on the track, so I don't understand. Do you see what they're doing there? Do you see what they're doing? Absolutely disgusting. And you will pay. You liars will pay. It's going to come crashing down for you. Your corruption will catch you up and it will come crashing down for you. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that it does.
Gentlemen, thanks ever so much. I think Jos Verstappen's also struggling to come to terms with this. He just walked out the back of the Red Bull garage as Hamilton continues then on lap 8 in the lead of this race. We've had a big controversial moment and we'll be talking about this, I'm sure, for a long time to come.
Yeah, let's park that for now. What's interest pace as well, despite...
Wrong one. Okay, where do we want? Data view.
Actually,
so, lap 8. Let's park that for now. 8 laps. They continue going on about that for 8 laps of inciting the strap-on fanboy. 8 laps of lies. 8 laps of vilifying Lewis Hamilton for claiming that Red Bull are hard done by. And then, when the corruption takes place later on in the race, when the manufactured finish happens, somehow that's karma for Hamilton not getting a penalty on lap 1. See how it works. Somehow it's karma because Hamilton got the advantage on lap 1. Nothing to do with Max not getting a 10-second penalty. Unbelievable, Jeff. Unbelievable. Anyway, I did say in the last video I'm going to do one about Silverstone and how these liars talked about the Silverstone crash and how that compared with Austria 2024. So hopefully that'll be the next one. Thank you for your time. Cheers.